My name's Mark. I'm 38 years old, a full-time paramedic, and a full-time dad to two little girls who mean the whole world to me. Until not long ago, I was also a husband, and not just any husband. I was the proud, loyal, absolutely smitten husband of a woman I thought was the best thing that ever happened to me. Her name's Lisa. Lisa was the kind of woman who walked into a room and made people forget what they were talking about. She had this effortless charm that made her seem almost magical. Long, dark hair that always looked like it belonged in a shampoo commercial, bright green eyes that could freeze you or melt you depending on the day, and this lean, toned body from running a yoga studio full-time. She moved like she had gravity on a string. People loved her. Strangers, friends, my parents, coworkers, even my kids' teachers used to gush about how graceful and sweet she was. And yeah, she could be sweet when she wanted to be. When the spotlight was on, Lisa was sunshine. But when it was just me and her, well, it took me a while to realize she could turn that warmth off like a switch. Still, I convinced myself that no one was perfect and that what we had was more than enough. Lisa and I met through a mutual friend at a barbecue thrown by one of my EMT buddies. She wasn't supposed to be there. She was filling in for someone who canceled last minute. She showed up wearing this simple tank top and jeans, hair tied up in a messy bun, no makeup. And still, every guy in the yard did a double take. She didn't try to be the center of attention, but somehow she was. I was holding a plate of ribs when she walked up and asked if the chicken was actually cooked this time, which made me laugh because I was the one who'd grilled it. That was our first conversation. She roasted my cooking. I was hooked. It didn't take long before we started dating. She always seemed so interested in me, not just the surface stuff, like what I did for work or how often I hit the gym, but deeper things. She'd ask about the hardest part of my shift, the weirdest call I'd ever had, or how I handled it when a patient didn't make it. I remember thinking, she actually sees me. She listened, or at least she acted like she did. Our relationship moved fast. Within a year, we were engaged. Married 6 months after that. She planned the wedding mostly by herself, a small ceremony at a cabin resort in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was picturesque. She looked like a forest queen in her dress, hair down, barefoot for the photos. I still have one of those pictures tucked away in a drawer I haven't opened in months. We bought a modest house just outside town, with a big fenced-in yard and a front porch that she decorated with little potted plants and string lights. We weren't flashy. We didn't care about fancy cars or Instagram posts. Just two people building a quiet life, or so I believed. When the twins were born, I thought our lives were complete. Two beautiful girls with her eyes and my stubbornness. We took turns on diapers and feedings, always tired, always learning. I was working nights at the time, so I missed a lot of moments, but Lisa kept me updated with photos and sweet notes in the diaper bag. She'd text me in the middle of my shift, "Both girls are finally asleep. Miss you." Or, "M spilled juice on the rug and L tried to clean it with yogurt. Total chaos. Love you." I lived for those messages. We weren't the couple going out to dinner every week. Our version of a date night was frozen pizza and an old comedy we'd seen 100 times. During COVID, we got really into baking sourdough. Well, I did. Lisa mostly just made fun of my bread baby like it was a science experiment. But she'd eat it with this little smile and say, okay, it's not bad." We hiked on weekends when the weather allowed. The girls loved it. Lisa would pack trail mix and apples, and we'd drive to the mountains and let the girls climb rocks and throw leaves. She wore a green windbreaker that matched her eyes, and I remember thinking one day, watching her carry one of the girls on her hip, how did I get so lucky? Looking back now, I think I was too focused on being grateful, too caught up in the image of what we were, what I thought we were. I wanted to believe that the love we had was unshakable, like the couples you read about in old novels or see in long-married folks at church. I believed in that kind of love. I believed in her. I used to watch her sleep and wonder how someone could be both breathtaking and mine. It sounds cheesy, but I genuinely thought I hit the jackpot. I didn't care about looks alone, though yeah, she was stunning. It was the way she carried herself. She had confidence that bordered on arrogance, but in a way that made you feel lucky just to be in her orbit. My friends used to joke that Lisa was out of my league, and I'd laugh, pretend to agree. But deep down, I believed we were perfect for each other. We balanced each other out. I was calm, she was fire. I was steady, she was unpredictable. It made life interesting. If only I knew. But back then, I didn't ask questions. I didn't pry. I didn't doubt her. I was just a man in love with a woman who played the role to perfection. And I was happy, blissfully, stupidly happy. Lisa told me about the expo a week ahead of time. It was some kind of wellness convention in Brighton, 3 days long, mandatory for all studio managers affiliated with a bigger health brand she'd partnered with. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, eating leftover chili, when she brought it up casually, like it was just another thing on the calendar. "They're making me go," she said, sounding half annoyed, half resigned. I tried to get out of it, but they said all the regional leads have to attend. She gave me this exaggerated eye roll like it was the last thing she wanted to do. I didn't think much of it at first. I nodded and said, "All right, we'll be fine. Just keep in touch." She reached across the table and took my hand. "I hate leaving you and the girls. Seriously. It's only 3 days, but it already feels like too long." That's what she said. But then the packing started. She brought out the good suitcase, not the regular one we used for quick family trips, but the sleek, newer one she bought for professional appearances. Then came the shopping trip, just to grab travel-size stuff. When she came back, she had a bag full of new items, high-end shampoo, a fancy moisturizer she'd never used before, and a couple of clothing store bags I didn't recognize. Then she booked a waxing appointment, which she never did unless we were going on a beach trip or celebrating an anniversary. When I raised an eyebrow, she laughed it off. "I just feel gross lately. It's not for anyone. I want to feel better in my skin, that's all." I said nothing. I wanted to believe her. Then she pulled out the perfume. It was the bottle I bought her the year after we got married. It had sat mostly untouched in our bathroom drawer. "Too heavy for everyday use," she said. Now suddenly it was sprayed on her scarf, her coat, even the inside of her suitcase. I couldn't walk into the bathroom without being hit by that familiar scent, the one I hadn't smelled in months. I should have asked more questions. But instead, I helped her zip up her bag the night before she left. The next morning, she kissed the girls on the forehead, told them to behave, and gave me a long hug at the door. She was wearing lipstick. Not the chapstick she usually wore, but actual lipstick, and a matching smile that looked polished. Rehearsed. She squeezed my hand. "Text me when you pick them up from school, okay?" "I will. And I'll call tonight. I promise." She stepped into the car that was taking her to the airport, and for a second, I just stood there, not sure why I suddenly felt uneasy. Something didn't sit right. The perfume. The dress she packed. The way her eyes darted as she said goodbye. That was my first stomach twist. But I trusted her. I told myself to stop being ridiculous. She was my wife. The mother of our girls. We'd built a life together. We didn't keep secrets. That's what I kept repeating like a prayer. That night, I tucked the kids into bed and started cleaning up the toys. The TV was playing something I wasn't paying attention to, and my phone buzzed on the counter. It was a message from Ryan, a guy I used to work with back when I pulled a few shifts at the ER. He'd gone into hospital security a while back. We weren't super close anymore, but we checked in from time to time. His message just said, "Hey bro, isn't Lisa at that wellness thing this week?" I texted back, "Yeah, why?" The reply came quick. "I think I just saw her at the bar, with a guy, with a guy." My stomach turned. My first reaction was confusion. Bar? Lisa told me she had meetings, dinners with other studio managers, a packed schedule. Before I could even process it, my phone buzzed again. Photos. I opened the first one. Lisa, standing at a high-top bar, drink in hand, laughing. Full makeup, hair curled, in a tight black dress I had never seen before, definitely not one I saw in the suitcase. The kind of dress that leaves little to the imagination. She was standing so close to a guy I didn't recognize at first, leaning into him like they were sharing some private joke. The second photo came in right after. That one stopped everything. Lisa and the guy Eric. That's when I realized who it was. Eric ran spin classes at her studio. She'd mentioned him a couple times. "Eric's hilarious," she once said. "Super into fitness, kind of intense, but harmless." Harmless. In this photo, they were kissing. Not a quick peck. Not a drunken accident. His hand was on her thigh, and her hand was on his neck, pulling him in. The kind of kiss that says this is not the first time. I stared at that photo like it was written in another language. My brain couldn't catch up. I didn't reply to Ryan. I didn't even blink for a minute. I just stood there, alone in my kitchen, listening to cartoons in the background, the house quiet except for the hum of the fridge and the buzz of my own pulse in my ears. That's when the room started spinning. Not fast, not dizzy, more like everything just tilted slightly off balance. Like my world had moved 1 inch to the left without warning. I sat down at the table and put my phone face down. I stared at the wooden surface in front of me, tracing the little scratch in the finish, the one from when our daughter dropped her toy fire truck during breakfast. That table had held birthday cakes, late-night puzzles, morning coffees, and now silence. That night, I didn't eat dinner. I didn't call Lisa. I didn't even finish cleaning up the toys. I just sat there, in a house that suddenly felt like someone else's life, wondering how long I'd been fooling myself. The first bruise on the fantasy had formed, and it was already starting to ache. I told myself every version of the truth except the actual one. I wanted to believe there was some innocent explanation, even if none of it added up. I knew Eric. Not well, but I'd met him once or twice. He was the type that always wore sleeveless hoodies and talked about his protein intake like it was a spiritual experience. He wasn't Lisa's type, or so I thought. But then again, I didn't even know Lisa had a type outside of me. I figured when you married someone and built a life with them, types stopped being relevant. I finally picked up my phone and called her. It rang 4 times, then went a voicemail. I waited a few minutes, told myself maybe she was in the middle of something, a group dinner, a meeting, something with other studio folks. I called again 15 minutes later. Same result. Texted her. Hey, everything okay? Just checking in. Call me when you can. An hour passed. Nothing. Then another. By the time I saw the little gray bubbles pop up, it had been almost 2 hours. Her message came in. Sorry, baby. Busy night. Just finished dinner. I love you. That's all she wrote. No, miss you. No apology for missing the call. No questions about how the girls were doing. Just that. I stared at the screen, trying to decide if I was overreacting. Maybe she really had been caught up in work. Maybe she didn't see the call. Maybe her phone was on silent. But no part of me truly believed any of that. Not after what I'd seen. Still, I replied. Glad you're having a good night. The girls miss you. No response after that. Just silence. I sat on the couch in the dark, the TV playing some old sitcom that felt like it belonged to another world. The girls had been asleep for hours. The dishes were done. The toys were picked up. Everything was in its place except my mind. That's when I remembered the app. About a year ago, I installed a location tracker on Lisa's phone. Not because I didn't trust her, not then, anyway, but because she'd lost her phone twice and always joked that she needed a digital leash. I set up the app so that if her phone ever went missing again, I could find it from my laptop. I hadn't checked it in months. Now I opened my laptop and pulled up the dashboard. It loaded slowly, the spinning icon giving me time to wonder if I was about to make a mistake. If maybe ignorance really was better than knowing too much. But then it loaded. The dot that was Lisa's phone was blinking steadily, sitting right in the heart of Brighton. At first glance, it didn't tell me much. Just the location, a boutique hotel about 10 minutes from the convention center. I clicked on the History tab. The app showed a record of everywhere her phone had been since she arrived. Every movement, every stop. What I saw made the room go quiet in my head. Her phone had been in that same hotel 3 nights in a row. Same place, same floor, same room number. There were short breaks during the day, a trip to the convention center, a lunch spot, a wellness cafe, but every night, she returned to that room and stayed there until morning. It wasn't just where she was sleeping. It was where she was living for those 3 days. I looked up the hotel online. It wasn't the one she told me the company booked for her. She'd said she was staying at a business hotel near the event space, something with shared rooms and a shuttle service. But this place was different. Boutique, artsy, full of personality. King suites, spa tubs, complimentary wine service. I clicked through the photos on their website, imagining Lisa walking through the lobby, dressed in that tight black dress, her hand around Eric's arm like they were on some kind of romantic getaway. It hit me like a gut punch. Still, even with the evidence in front of me, photos, messages, location data, part of me still didn't want to believe it. I kept thinking, there has to be more to this. Maybe she met him for work reasons. Maybe the kiss was a stupid mistake. Maybe it was a one-time thing. Maybe they were drunk. Maybe. That word kept circling like a buzzard. Maybe. I closed the laptop and sat in silence, staring at the family portrait hanging over the TV. One of those professional photo shoots we did in the fall, with the girls in matching dresses and Lisa in a soft white sweater. Her smile was big, eyes full of light, arm around my waist like we were exactly what the world thought we were. That image burned into my brain. I wanted to be angry, but it hadn't settled in yet. I was still in that strange space where your body knows something your heart refuses to accept, where you catch yourself checking the clock, wondering when she'll call, even after seeing her with someone else. I went to bed with that feeling, that gnawing, cold realization that something was wrong, and that things might never be the same again. Even though I'd seen enough to start unraveling the truth, I still wasn't ready to pull the whole thread. I wasn't ready to admit it. Not yet. Because if I admitted it, really admitted it, then everything I believed about my marriage would fall apart. And I wasn't sure I could handle that. Not yet. Lisa came through the door with a suitcase in one hand and a coffee in the other. The girls ran up to her, all giggles and arms, and she bent down to hug them like everything was fine. I stood in the kitchen, trying to smile as I watched her carry on like the past 3 days hadn't happened. She caught my eye, gave me this soft smile, and said, "Miss me?" I walked over, gave her a quick hug, and said, "Of course." She looked radiant, like someone who'd just come back from a spa retreat, not a work event. Skin glowing, hair freshly done, makeup still light and perfect from the drive home. Even her voice was a little lighter, like she'd dropped all her stress somewhere along the way and picked up a new version of herself. "God, I'm exhausted," she sighed, putting her bag by the stairs. "That trip was brutal." I nodded. "You want to lie down for a bit?" She grinned, walked over, and put her arms around me. "Only if you're coming with me," she whispered in that sing-song voice she used when she was trying to be cute. That voice used to work on me like a charm. But this time, it made my skin crawl. I played along. Told her I needed to take care of a few things first, then I'd be up. She didn't push, just kissed my cheek and went upstairs to unpack. The rest of the day went by like any other. Dinner with the girls, bath time, bedtime stories. Lisa laughed at all the right moments, asked about what they'd done while she was gone, complimented me on holding down the fort. To anyone watching from the outside, it would have looked like a happy home. Inside, I was quietly unraveling. Over the next few days, I stuck to the routine. Took the girls to school, did my shifts, helped with homework, cleaned the house, kissed Lisa goodnight. All normal. I smiled when I needed to. I made jokes during dinner. I kept things light. But behind every word, I was watching her. Listening. Studying the way her voice changed when her phone lit up, how she kept her screen tilted away when she texted, the way her mood lifted for no clear reason when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I didn't want lies. I wanted proof. I'm not a tech wizard, but I know enough to find tools when I need them. That week, I downloaded a piece of software that mirrored her phone's data to a secure cloud. Something discreet, something she'd never notice. I set it up while she was in the shower, told her I needed to update her apps so her calendar would sync with mine better. She barely looked up from her makeup bag and said, "Whatever helps you stay organized, babe." That night, I sat on my laptop long after everyone was in bed, going through the data feed as it started coming in. Calls, texts, photos, voice notes. It was all there. I didn't know what I was looking for exactly, but I figured it wouldn't take long to find it. I was right. By the end of the second day, I had dozens of texts between her and Eric. Some were casual. Studio updates, class schedules, jokes. But then came the ones that made my stomach flip. Late-night messages with emojis she hadn't sent me in years. Photos of him shirtless at the gym. Messages that started with things like, "Still thinking about last night," and "You're impossible to forget." Then came the photo that broke whatever was left inside me. A selfie from Eric's phone. Lisa, lying in our bed. The room was unmistakable. The quilt her mother gave us. The wooden headboard I built myself. And there she was, striking a pose with her hair loose. Lips puckered slightly, eyes half-lidded. Caption read, "He thinks I'm out cold." Gave him the perfect goodbye kiss. "Miss you already." She signed it off with a pet name. Angel. That used to be my name. She used to call me that when she'd curl up on the couch, after a long day, when we'd sit quietly together and watch the girls play. Now she was using it for him. I couldn't breathe. It felt like something pressed against my chest and wouldn't let go. I closed the laptop, stood up, and made it to the hallway before my stomach turned. I barely got to the bathroom in time. Leaned over the sink and just stared at the drain, hoping the sickness would pass. I splashed cold water on my face, tried to look at myself in the mirror, but I couldn't hold my own gaze. My hands were shaking, and my heart wouldn't slow down. All I kept thinking was, that's our bed. That's our room. That's the space we built together, the one place in the world that was supposed to be safe. I stayed up all night, sitting in the living room with just the porch light spilling through the blinds. My mind kept replaying every moment I'd ignored, every time I'd brushed off a weird feeling. The sudden yoga meetings, the new outfits, the way she'd started wearing perfume to boost her mood. The signs had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. That week, I kept gathering everything. Every message, every voice memo, every photo she sent. I watched the woman I loved drift further from me with every passing file, while she still kissed me goodbye in the morning and thanked me for folding the laundry at night. She had no idea what I knew, and I had no idea how long I could keep pretending. The photos, those hit like a hammer. But what came next was a kind of betrayal I didn't even know I had room for. I thought I'd reached the bottom of it with Eric. Thought the worst of it was already behind me. But I was wrong. It went deeper. It always does when you think you've seen everything. It started with a name. Bennett. I'd heard Lisa say it in passing a few times. Mr. Bennett wants to see the new design. Or, Bennett thinks we could expand if we add a juice bar. He was her studio's biggest investor, a wealthy real estate guy who had bought up half the buildings downtown and liked to play the role of community health savior by funding yoga programs and health fairs. Older guy. Married. Big house in the hills. Smile like a used car dealer and teeth too white for a man his age. I never thought twice about him. To me, he was just another money guy who liked to act like he cared about wellness because it made him look good. He sponsored her business, so I figured he stayed out of the way unless it was time to cut checks or take a photo with a ribbon cutting. Then I started noticing his name in her messages too. The tone was different. Where Eric was all emojis and casual charm, Bennett was deliberate, almost possessive. Short messages. Questions. Are you alone? Meet me after. Same room. They weren't flirtatious. They were direct. No guessing. And she responded in kind. 10 minutes. Already on my way. I missed that sound you make when. I couldn't finish the rest. I called Ryan and asked him for a favor I never thought I'd need. You still got that guy you mentioned once, the one who helps people figure things out when something feels off? He knew exactly who I meant. Let me make a call, he said. But fair warning, if you really want the truth, you better be ready to deal with it. I told him I was. He set me up with a private investigator named Bryce. Clean-cut guy, quiet voice, asked more questions than he answered at first. I told him everything I knew, what I'd found, what I suspected. Gave him access to the message logs, photos, dates, locations. He took notes the whole time, nodded, and said he'd be in touch. A week passed. Then 2. I tried not to think about it, but it ate away at me every hour I wasn't working or with the kids. Every time Lisa smiled at me, every time she called me babe, it made my skin crawl. And I smiled back. Because I had to. Then Bryce called. Mark, I've got what you asked for. You sure you want to see it? Send it, I said. He didn't send it through email. He came to my house. Said he preferred to deliver sensitive files face-to-face. Sat across from me at the kitchen table while the girls were napping upstairs. He slid a thumb drive across the table. You're going to want to be alone for this. He left, and I sat there holding that little black stick like it was going to bite me. I finally plugged it into the laptop and opened the main folder. Video files. Photo files. Audio logs. Dates. Timestamps. The PI had been thorough. I started with the photos. A series of images showing Lisa entering a boutique hotel, the same one from the location logs. Sometimes with Eric. Sometimes with Bennett. Sometimes both. Each time, she looked like a different woman. Hairstyle just so, different dresses, heels I didn't know she owned. Never the sweatpants and top knot I'd come to associate with our nights at home. Then I opened the folder marked balcony. That video changed everything. Lisa was outside, standing on the balcony of some upscale suite with French doors and a perfect view of the city. Eric was there. So was Bennett. And there she was, smiling, carefree, caught between them like it was the most natural thing in the world. Bryce's footage didn't need to be explicit. Just seeing her with them, the way she moved, the way she looked at them, it said enough. I didn't need words or sound to understand. She wasn't hesitant. She wasn't unsure. She was comfortable. Present. I paused the video. My heart was racing like I'd run uphill with a pack on my back. I stepped away, paced the kitchen, tried to breathe. Then I came back and hit play again. It confirmed what I hadn't wanted to believe. This wasn't some mistake or accident. It was a decision. One she made again and again, with both of them. I closed the laptop slowly and leaned back in my chair. My hands were clenched. My jaw was tight. I felt sick again, but I didn't move this time. I just sat there. There's a moment in every man's life when something inside shuts off, not out of weakness, but from being burned one too many times in the same spot. That moment found me in that chair. Everything I believed about Lisa, everything I thought I knew, it was gone. Just ashes now. I had thought maybe this was about one bad decision, one mistake, one lapse in judgment. But this was a pattern, a routine, a double life with not one, but two men. One of them being the married father of three who she called mentor in public, and the other being the gym rat who made jokes about smoothies. I didn't want to hear her excuses. I didn't want some rehearsed story about how things got complicated. I already knew the truth, and it was louder than anything she could have said. She wasn't sorry. At least not yet. You don't do something like that by accident. That kind of betrayal doesn't happen overnight. It's layered, planned, repeated, chosen. And that's what got me. She chose it. Every time. She chose them. So I chose to respond the only way that felt right. I documented everything. It started with organizing what I had. I made folders, not on her laptop, not on my work computer, but on a separate drive, hidden away and secure. One folder for photos, one for messages, one for the audio clips, one for the hotel logs, one for video. Everything backed up 3 ways. I knew it wouldn't just be me who deserved to know. Then it was married. I remembered seeing a framed photo of him and his wife on the wall during one of those donor dinners we attended. His wife's name was Mary Ann. Real elegant woman. Soft voice, wore pearls like they were standard. She talked to Lisa like they were equals. I even remember her asking Lisa if she wanted advice on opening another location someday. Lisa smiled politely, said, "That would be amazing," and glanced at me like it was all just small talk. Mary Ann lived in Vermont. They had a summer house up there. Through some digging and help from Bryce, the PI, I got her mailing address. Not hard. These people's lives are public in ways they don't realize. Eric's wife was easier. Her name was Michelle, and she was all over social media, family pictures, inspirational quotes, cute reels of their toddlers dancing in pajamas. They lived in a lakeside neighborhood in Massachusetts. The kind of place with community newsletters and wine nights on porches. She seemed like the kind of woman who planned birthday parties 3 months in advance and made her own decorations. I printed everything out. Each packet was over an inch thick. I bought 2 sturdy binders, labeled them discreetly, and packed them with the truth. I didn't leave anything out. Texts with pet names, hotel receipts, photo timestamps, location logs, screenshots of calendar events labeled stretch meeting that were anything but. I mailed them priority. No return address. No note. Just the truth in a zippered case. After that, I sat down at my desk and opened my email. I created a new account using a name that couldn't be traced to me. Something generic. No signature. The subject line was simple. Thought you should know. The body of the email wasn't long. I wrote, "I'm sorry you have to see this. I know it's a lot, but I figured if the roles were reversed, I'd want someone to tell me the truth." Then I attached the files. Folders filled with everything I'd collected. I double-checked each one. I added links to cloud storage. Password protected, of course, with the password clearly listed in the email. Then I sat back, stared at the screen, and clicked Send All. But I wasn't finished. Lisa had built a whole public image around her studio. She branded herself as this wholesome, earthy wellness figure. Someone who preached about energy, alignment, inner peace. Her Instagram was a shrine to green smoothies and inspirational quotes about honesty and finding your truth. So I sent the same email, slightly tweaked, to every one of her major clients. Her top-paying class members, her sponsors, her yoga retreat partners. And yes, her mother. I didn't embellish. I didn't make threats. I didn't use a single harsh word. I just let the proof speak for itself. The fallout was almost immediate. Within hours, her Instagram page vanished. I wasn't sure if she took it down or if someone flagged it into oblivion, but it was gone. By the next morning, her class schedule had disappeared from the studio website, and her name was quietly removed from the leadership page. The woman who'd built her reputation on balance and truth had lost it all in less than a day. She didn't say anything right away. No tears. No screaming match. Just silence. Maybe she didn't know where it had come from, or maybe she did but couldn't admit it to herself yet. But I could see it. The way her eyes kept darting to her phone every 10 seconds, waiting for the next notification. The way her posture collapsed more and more each hour. The tension in her shoulders. Her quiet disappearances to the bathroom. Her sudden outbursts about haters and jealous people online. She said she needed a break from social media. I said nothing. The girls were still too young to know what was happening, but even they noticed something was off. Lisa tried to put on a brave face around them, but her usual charm didn't land the same. She looked tired, frayed, small. I didn't feel triumphant. There was no celebration, no high five in the mirror. Just a quiet, steady kind of justice. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I couldn't let her keep hurting people while wearing a halo. I spent those days keeping my head down, making dinner, helping with homework, reading bedtime stories like nothing had changed. But everything had. It didn't take long before everything that had been building behind closed doors made its way into a courtroom. Once the evidence went out, the quiet tension in our house couldn't hold anymore. Lisa stopped pretending. She barely spoke. The girls asked more questions. I gave them soft answers. Things like, Mom and Dad are just figuring things out, and we're all going to be okay. I never said a bad word about her to them. I didn't have to. The damage was already visible in the air we breathed. My lawyer was sharp, experienced, and calm. Her name was Brenda, and she had a reputation for being relentless but fair. She didn't make empty promises, just asked for the facts and what I wanted. I want full custody, I said. I want the house. I want her out. She nodded and said, good. Then we built from that. The court date came faster than I expected. We walked in through separate doors. Lisa wore a pale gray dress, neat hair, and that same delicate scarf she always clutched when she was nervous. The one her sister gave her years ago, before our wedding. She looked like she was going to church, not a courtroom. Eyes low, lips pressed, hands shaking. I'd seen that scarf when she laughed at cookouts and when she cradled our babies. Now it looked like a prop in a play she didn't rehearse well enough. My lawyer spoke first. Laid everything out. Photos. Logs. Text messages. Witness statements. Hotel receipts. Security footage. It felt like a full-length documentary of betrayal, but presented without drama, just cold facts. Dates, times, actions. Lisa's lawyer tried to argue it was misunderstood, that the messages were out of context, that things were complicated at home. Then came the emotional play. Lisa claimed mental health struggles. She said she hadn't been thinking clearly. She said she felt unseen and neglected. Said the pressure of being a mother and businesswoman had pushed her to make poor choices. I watched her cry. Big tears. Shoulders shaking. At one point, she reached for that scarf and held it to her chest like it could erase the evidence. I didn't move. I didn't look at the judge or the clerk. I just stared at the woman I used to know and wondered how she'd gotten so far from where we started. Brenda calmly responded to the emotional appeal with more facts. Showed how Lisa had time to plan meetings, book hotels, coordinate with 2 separate men, and maintain public appearances, all while sending sweet messages to me and tucking our daughters into bed. None of it added up to someone overwhelmed. It added up to someone who thought she wouldn't get caught. The judge didn't take long. Full custody to me. The house remained mine. It had been purchased in my name before the marriage, and I'd maintained it. Lisa would get supervised visits twice a month. No overnight stays. No travel without approval. She moved into her mother's house across town. That should have been the end of it, but people like Lisa don't let go that easily. 2 weeks after the ruling, she showed up at my front door. She didn't call first. Just knocked, soft and steady, like she wasn't sure if I'd even answer. I opened the door to find her standing there in jeans and a sweater, hair neatly brushed, face bare, eyes red and puffy. Her hands were twisting that same scarf around her fingers. Mark, she said, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't say anything. Can I come in? No. She looked down, bit her lip, and then looked back at me. I just wanted to talk. I know you don't owe me anything. I know I ruined everything. Still, I stayed silent. I didn't mean for it to get so out of hand, she continued. It started small, and I got lost. Lost. That was her word for it. She reached for my arm, like she wanted to close the space between us. Her fingers brushed my sleeve. That's when I stepped back. Lisa, I said, you didn't get lost. You took the scenic route through Betrayal Town and parked in Hypocrisy Alley. She blinked, stunned. And you stayed there, I added. You pitched a tent and lit a fire. That wasn't an accident. That was a choice. Tears welled up again, and she tried to say something, but her voice cracked. I want my family back, she said finally. Please. I still love you. I looked at her for what felt like a long time. And for a second, I saw the woman I married, the version I wanted to believe in. But it wasn't real. It was never real. Not fully. You can love something and still destroy it, I said. You did. She stood there shaking, still holding that scarf like it could wrap up all her mistakes. I'm sorry, she whispered. I nodded. I believe you. But sorry doesn't fix this. She opened her arms, maybe hoping for a hug. I didn't move. I said, "Goodbye, Lisa," and closed the door. She stood there for another minute. I watched from the window, just out of sight. Eventually, she turned and walked down the steps. She didn't look back. Inside, the house was quiet again. The girls were playing upstairs, the dog curled up on the couch. The air felt clearer, like something heavy had finally been carried out. It wasn't peace. Not yet. But it was the start of it. And I'd take that over lies any day. Life looks different now. Quieter. More predictable. It's not filled with big gestures or dramatic moments. And I like it that way. There's a kind of peace in the ordinary I never appreciated before. I wake up in a house that no longer feels like a stage set for a performance. It feels real. It feels mine. The girls are doing better than I ever could have hoped. Kids are resilient in ways that adults aren't. They still ask about their mom, especially on days when she was more present. Birthdays, first days of school, holidays. I keep it simple. Mommy's working on herself, I say. And that's not a lie, or at least not a cruel one. Maybe she is. I like to think she is. We've built our routines. Breakfast at the kitchen island, the girls giggling over mismatched socks. We do pizza Fridays, pancake Saturdays, and Sunday hikes. That's our thing, hiking. The three of us out in the woods, little backpacks filled with snacks and water bottles, boots stomping through leaves. They ask questions about trees, bugs, clouds. I answer what I can and make up the rest. They never seem to notice. There's something healing about watching your children thrive after everything falls apart. I used to worry they'd feel the weight of what happened, that the silence between Lisa and me would leave scars. But what I've found is, kids don't need perfection. They just need to feel safe, loved, heard. I can do that. Work's been steady. The guys on the shift know something went down, but they're respectful. No one pries. They just keep the jokes light and the coffee strong. I stay busy. Nights are quiet once the girls are down. Sometimes I read. Sometimes I just sit with a cold drink on the back porch, listening to the wind move through the trees. As for the others, Eric and Bennett both took their falls. Eric's divorce came quick. His wife didn't hold back. From what I heard, she cleaned out their accounts, took the kids, and moved in with her sister. Last time I checked, he was trying to rebrand himself as a fitness lifestyle coach, selling supplements and energy powders online. His posts are full of motivational quotes and shirtless selfies. I don't follow him, but someone from town forwarded one of his videos to me with the caption, "This guy's a clown now." Bennett didn't fare much better. His wife hit him hard in court, took the house, most of the real estate portfolio, and left him scrambling. The development deals he used to brag about quietly fell through. Word got around. Reputation matters when your business depends on handshakes and trust. Now he's living in a condo downtown, and I hear he's trying to start something new. But people remember. I didn't have to ruin them. They did it themselves. All I did was shine a light. Lisa still reaches out. Not every day, but often enough that I know she hasn't really let go. The texts are usually short. Hope you're well. Tell the girls I miss them. Thinking of you. I don't block her. I want her to see the stillness I've found without her. Not out of cruelty, but because it's the truth. I don't answer. There's nothing left to say. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about the early days. Before all the lies. When we were first building this life. She'd hum in the kitchen while making tea. She'd wear those old fleece pajama pants and steal the covers. She used to rest her head on my chest while we watched movies, her hand tracing circles on my arm. I miss that version of her. The one I thought was real. But I've learned something important. You can love someone with your whole heart and still walk away. Not because you stopped loving them, but because you started loving yourself enough to know you deserve better. I still believe in love. I believe in rebuilding. In second chances, just not always with the same person. My home is calmer now. There's laughter in it again, but it's not forced. It's messy and real. We burn toast. We forget homework. We dance in the kitchen in mismatched socks. The girls fight over silly things and then make up 5 minutes later. I tuck them in every night, and they hold my hand like it's the only one they'll ever need. I'm not the same man I was a year ago. I'm a little older in the eyes. A little slower to trust. But I'm grounded in a way I wasn't before. There's strength in surviving what tries to break you. And there's grace in learning to live again, not bitter, just wiser. Do I miss her? Sure. Some nights. Some mornings. When I find old photos in drawers or hear a song that takes me back. But I don't miss the chaos. I don't miss the wondering, the silence, the ache of betrayal hiding behind forced smiles. I miss the story I thought we were writing. But I love the peace more. And that's what I choose every day, peace over pretending, truth over comfort, and the future over the past. Still standing. Still healing. One quiet step at a time. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if you were in Mark's shoes? If you liked the story, subscribe to the channel and give us a like.